A few days ago, President Trump said that African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, in Chicago were begging him to send in the National Guard to fight crime in that city. He made the comment while promoting the success of military deployment in Washington, D.C., debatable, and indicating that Chicago might be one of the next places to go. Now, the claim reflected genuine anxiety with residents and some people facing crime. Many folks in D.C. that did get televised, did discuss it, said they were happy the guard was there because D.C. should be better. But of course, as we've said many times here, and you see many other commentaries, the numbers don't quite say the same thing. The numbers for what's happening in D.C., there is some slight drop in crime because there is a bigger presence, but essentially it's an operation to basically find more illegals and send them out of the country as opposed to fight actual crime in actual places. Most of the places you're seeing the National Guard as they're doing some beautification programs now is on the mall, the Capitol, where the crime is not the worst, although people where the crime is the worst say they want more presence. Now, the beautiful black ladies. This morning, as I was watching Victor Blackwell on CNN and his specific show that dealt with things that are culture and race on those ends, he talked to this beautiful black lady right here. This is Danielle Carter Walters. She's a fitness trainer and a co-founder of a pro-Trump group called Chicago Flips Red. And she said she was her. She was one of those beautiful ladies that Trump referenced. She's done videos about calling for military help in Chicago. She now feels heard by our president. She argues that crime is real and people in their neighborhood feel unsafe with carjackings, muggings, and shootings. If you watched the interview this morning, look for it on CNN, look for it in any of her social media presence. You'll see her say things with passion, with feeling, with her perspective. But remember, it is her perspective and the perspective of a small group of people who are not saying the same words. It's a small group. The representative reach is not so great, but now that she's getting a platform national-wise and being called out by Donald Trump, we'll see what happens with this one. Here's the thing about Chicago and with most of the cities that Trump is now targeting to bring in more of a federal presence for National Guard, Marines, whatever. Most of the city leaders and residents there actually don't like the plan because crime, statistically, these are numbers, have actually dropped significantly. And homicides, particularly, one that brought the title of Chirac to Chicago because they were having more murders than the Iraqi battlefields. Homicides are down 30%, which is 30% less homicides than there were in the past, but a homicide is a homicide. Officials say military deployment is overkill and, of course, unconstitutional for the region. Some people think having a bigger presence may actually tackle things like being homeless people, accosting people in the streets, and keep an eye on abandoned storefronts, which is not so much policing, but keeping up with things. But the military presence is something that would intimidate many folks, hurt businesses, and of course, as we say in D.C., we're seeing it's more of a way to stir up some tensions in the immigrant community than it is to actually fight crime. There are many red flags that can be seen flying very, very wildly, not just Chicago flipping red, with the deployment of troops in U.S. cities in general. Now, D.C. is a specific sort of thing, but someplace like Chicago, federal law actually does limit involvement in civil policing in a place like that. There's I'll say obscure law in D.C. that allows that for that because D.C. is not it's a city, it's not a state, does not have its own jurisdiction. It is the home of the president run by a separate group. Chicago has nothing to do with Donald Trump other than it lives in a state that is one of the United States. Trump argues he has legal authority under federal emergency powers and Title 10 statute to do what he wants to and fix these places. Critics say unconstitutional. There will be challenges. There will be court cases. There will be other folks who will push back. Now, the actual move taps the fear of crime and appeal politically. It brings up the voices in your head that things aren't as great as people say they are, and what they're saying are great is not the truth that exists. So if you don't feel safe, but someone's telling you you should feel safe, why you should believe the person tells you should feel safe when you know you don't feel safe? It frames a resistance of the elites saying, oh, all is great, and also brings in blind partisanship. For the base, the MAGA base, it's a direct talk to folks who are saying, these people who have been in charge, these blue state Democrats, these folks who are ivory tower people, are lying to us, have been lying to us, and you hear us. Their leadership is wrong. You want us to feel safe. We will follow you. So, but the problem is, if you look at it from a higher view, an overall view, and kind of look both sides, if you will, it's a power play. It's a power play that is being used to force not a partnership with other people, but basically undermining the trust and respect of all the other side. So whether you are the minority or majority, if you feel like you're heard, you feel like you have power, and someone is pushing for your agenda, whether your actual local leaders or not can actually do that, it becomes a thing. I actually applaud Danielle Carter Walters for speaking up, seeing what she's saying. It's one thing to have these conversations of the black kind, where we say we are not a monolith and there should be more voices that are competing back and forth. So it's actual dialogue, and there should be more conservatives out there in a darker complexion or in other complexions if you want to. There should be more. I should be able to say I am a black conservative leaning person because I believe in these values, yet I understand when the dog whistles start blowing what's going on. You can't really do that with this administration. You can't really say that in Donald Trump because people who've been watching him for a long time see what they see, think they know what they know. Maybe we don't really know because you can't get in his head, and have a thought process that tells us this is where things are going. This is how this plays out. This is how this show has gone before. There have been comparisons to other regimes. We'll just say it like that so we don't get demonetized. To keep issues out that, if you see things coming, why didn't it get stopped? Well, there's a reasons why it don't get stopped. There are many cases for people who are in power, who are in the realm of having control, don't want to give up control. And if it means going to darker sides to keep people from lessers from becoming greaters, they'll do it in a heartbeat. They may believe in the cause, or they may believe enough to have the cause live on so they can keep in some sort of level of control. Like I said, I have no fault in the words that are being said by this lady and her group. Danielle Carter Walters has the right to say what she wants to say, believe what she wants to believe. And from the interview that I saw with Victor Blackwell this morning on CNN, it seemed like it wasn't so much for show. It wasn't a diamond and what's her name type of deal where they're just trying to get some views and try to stay relevant. I believe she's going to go back to her life and do back to her things, do whatever, and will survive on her own. She may have some backlash because now that she's been nationalized as a MAGA Republican, for lack of a better term, it's there. But I also see this in a local sense where I've seen people who are local celebrities or local people are in the know who are out there fighting the fight, saying what they want to say or need to say about things in our realm, things in our neighborhood that are unpopular to say because maybe a liberal stance would say you should be nicer to these people, but they are true concerns. And if they're true concern, whether it's nice or not, it should be said. And in the end, we should all be able to get along and just try to live with it together. And if we can't live together, just avoid each other to the point where we don't have to deal with each other. That's fine. This is sending federal troops into a regular American city to police and make things safe, make things better again. But also looks like inroads to a worse time in our life when we sent people overseas to fight these types of things that went, as some people may say, just a little out of hand. Some cultures, some researchers, some historians will tell the story how it wasn't so much a little out of hand, but well out of control and an evil force essentially of running amok in a time where people were scared, people were insecure, and people just wanted some semblance of a reality that made them feel like they were in control of what was going on. And that control was bad for all of us. So Chicago can flip red. That's fine. And Chicago can have more assistance from maybe a national presence to work with the local police to make things better. That's fine. But National Guard troops from red states going into blue cities to patrol or not patrol the area doesn't fix the problem. And yes, the problem is internal. Yes, we need to do more things. And it comes down to teaching the people and the younger generations that where they're going may not be where it need to be. They may need to skip a little bit of, let's just say, maturity and kind of go past some things and kind of understand how things work and be a part of the system and not just spend so much time being the radicals that young people tend to be. Because sometimes the radicals young people tend to be will grow them into the leaders we need in the future. And sometimes they get left behind because they realize that the leaders of the current won't allow them to be leaders of the future. We'll see how this thing plays out. We'll see if Chicago is the next or one of the next cities where National Guard troops will take over. Pretty sure that's going to be a big court battle to make that one not happen. And we'll see what happens with the future of one Miss Danielle Carter Walters. Maybe she has a greater public persona for Chicagoland, for Illinois, for the nation, for the world. Maybe she'll eventually go off into just the ether of someone that on the national stage, because at some point in time your 15 minutes is up and you want to go back to your regular life. We shall see what happens, because this is an idea that now we have a face to it, a voice to it, a very articulate, very well put actual message to this one. You may not disagree. You may not agree with the way it was put. You may not agree with the some of the stats and the numbers and the images she gave, but she gave an argument, something that can be argued back and forth. You let me know what you think about her argument and the general argument on whether Trump's doing a good job or not.